All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ConvertLabs Conversations. And today we have Jamie Reeder on. Jamie, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. And if you could just introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on. My name is Jamie Reeder. I am with Dust and Mop House Cleaning and Gojambee. I have been in the house cleaning business for over 17 years. And my company, Dust and Mop House Cleaning, is located in North Carolina. We have 3 locations and we generate over $4 million a year in revenue.
That's crazy. That's a lot. Um,
It is a lot. Sometimes I'm like, but I jokingly I say that, but I love being a business owner,
yeah.
and really love sharing my knowledge of house cleaning and really wanting to up level our industry. And we're in a really interesting time here in home services with private equity coming in, and they've been all over so many other home services, and they're starting to come more into house cleaning. And so I really want to help other house cleaning business owners and other business owners in the home service space, which is why I started Gojambee, which it's not really just a course, it's more of a system. It offers sales training specifically for a one-call close and customer service training. And I'm also rolling out some other programs. For example, I was able to cut my skips of recurring cleaning customers in half using a very specific method. It's tried and true in my business, and I literally saved my company almost $200,000 a year and our bottom line, right, by implementing this program for our cleaning pros to have more consistent paychecks, for customers, recurring customers, to commit to that day and time. And so I'm going to be rolling that out in the next 30 days, and I'm making it very affordable for other house cleaning business owners to purchase it, one-time purchase, and it has all the training that they need for their team and for them to implement it into their business. Super easy.
Perfect. Well, I'm super excited. I've got so many questions.
Okay.
For somebody to get to even $1 million, let alone, $4 million a year, you have to refine so many different parts of this business.
Hmm.
Almost anyone can start a cleaning company and do like $5,000 or $10,000 a month. That's not
Yeah.
very hard. But to get to your level, it gets harder and harder. And so, yeah, I've got so many great questions. But I first want to ask you, why did you even get started? Like, what about the cleaning space? What triggered you to want to start a cleaning company?
If you had said to me when I was younger, Jamie, you're going to own a house cleaning company, I would have told you were crazy. I don't like cleaning. Who likes cleaning, right?
Yeah.
No, I know some people do love it, but I went to North Carolina State, and after a lot of iterations on me trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I landed in business, which then took me to outside sales. So I was actually in the corporate world in outside sales for 10 years, and I loved sales, but I had an opportunity I always said I was going to start a business. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So I've always had a very entrepreneurial spirit, and I had an opportunity. It's a long story, but basically my next door neighbor was a cleaning lady, no insurance, not paying taxes and all of those things. And she had a handful of customers, and her husband had passed away, unfortunately, and she was moving. And I said, well, what are you going to do with your customers? And she said, nothing. And I said, well, why don't you let me buy them from you? I'll hire your helper. And then as soon as I did that, I started my business and did an LLC and started advertising. And so I literally grew it from the ground up. I grew it very fast. Now, this is 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first 4 years, a little over 4 years, I grew to $1 million. So I've been running over $1 million, at $1 million business and up for a very long time. And there's so many newer companies coming into the space. There's a lot more competitors now than there ever has been in house cleaning. So it was really different back then, but that's how I got started. And I literally started with one employee. I had a full-time job and ran my business for a year, had a 2-year-old. So I was a busy lady, but that's part of I didn't really get into it because I had this like passion for cleaning. I did it because I had a passion for business. And I also saw that it was an opportunity that I just took advantage of.
Yeah, that's awesome that you just took it and ran with it. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
So what does life look like for you now, at your level?
Mm,
I think a lot of people, they sometimes they get bogged down by like the day-to-day stuff in cleaning, and it kind of
mhm.
wears them down quite a bit. So are you removed at all from, all the operations stuff that happens, or are you still like super involved in all of that?
No, I am very much removed from that. I do have
Yeah.
weekly meetings with I have a regional manager and a project manager that I meet with weekly for a same page meeting, but that's really usually going over some more higher level stuff. Of course, because my background in sales, I mean, putting my Dust and Mop experience together with I have 27 years of sales experience. So that is one department that I still kind of sort of oversee ish, but not on a daily basis. We're getting ready to hire a sales manager for that because that needs to just come off my plate. But I'm more strategic.
Hmm.
And I'm at that level where it's just, I'm really not I'm not involved in any of the day-to-day stuff. Like I don't go to our operations meeting. Sometimes I get pulled into things, but very rarely. That's a really good question because as like they say, right? Every time you double your business, something changes, right? Drastic changes. So $1 to $2 million is such a different growth pattern than 2 to 4. Like I have a coaching client right now, she's at 2 and she wants to get to 4. And we have to kind of go back and reset some foundations. I mean, she's done an amazing job of getting to where she is, but what got her to 2 million isn't going to get her to 4.
Right.
And yeah, and you're right. Like that's a really important distinction is that when I see, other house cleaning business owners asking for advice on Facebook groups and all of these things. And I usually have follow up questions for them because I don't know what their goals are. Like we all assume, hey, everybody wants to get to a million, everybody wants to get to 2, everybody, but not everybody wants to be in that space, right? And not everybody wants to come out of the field. But if you do, right, and you want to have, which I would assume that a lot of house cleaning business owners and just small business owners in general, we want to set our business up so we have something to either sell and have an exit strategy for that, or set it up for generational wealth for maybe our children to take it over once we decide that we want to retire. I would hope that a majority of house cleaning business owners and other small business owners are wanting to set their business up that way.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing is I'm setting my business up that way to just so I have multiple options and paths. And like you said about asking me that question about getting out of the day to day, you have to get out of the day to day and get everything out of your head, get it into SOPs if you really want to have something to sell at the end of the day. And that includes having good leadership, and leadership comes into play big time from 2 to $4 million.
Hmm.
Huge.
What was like the hardest shift? Was it, getting from half a million to a million, or from 2 to 4? Is there something in
Mm.
particular you thought?
So I feel like that's a loaded question because in that moment, everything seemed like it was the hardest, right? Getting from 1 to 2. But now I look back, get it we're over $4 million now. And right now we're kind of like, we're simplifying things and we're kind of going back and going, okay, have we overcomplicated some things? So everything seems really difficult. But I think if I had to say one thing that is the most difficult in scaling, and it definitely does apply at that 1 million and it's kind of ongoing, is leadership.
Mhm.
That having the right people in the right seat, not creating seats for employees, but creating an org chart for what your business needs in that moment, and then evaluating every employee that you have to see if they even belong in that seat. And keeping employees too long in a seat that they don't belong in, because it
And that's the hard one.
can,
Yeah.
especially, when you're talking like big leadership positions and sales,
Hmm.
right? And because when you're talking about the hiring, which obviously affects your sales, because if you don't have availability, you can't sell stuff, right? So, or you have sales reps that aren't converting high enough, right? So those are two really, really important positions, at least for me, in my opinion, for growth in a house cleaning company, is that making sure you're fully staffed and what your employee turnover is, which comes down to leadership of who's managing your cleaning pros and what your company culture is like. And then your sales team, and making sure sales is so difficult, but it's really easy to monitor because it all comes down to numbers. And that's one of the challenges, is when I say it's difficult, it is because most house cleaning business owners don't have sales skills. Or maybe they have sales skills, but those sales skills that they have don't translate to being able to train their employees properly. And let's be honest, an owner gets on the phone and is talking to a customer is going to always outsell a sales rep.
Every time.
Every time. It doesn't matter. We just have this confidence. Hey, I'm Jamie. I'm the owner of Dust and Mop. This is going to be amazing. You're going to love, right? They don't have the buy-in that we do, and they can't say that they're the owner, right? And that's why I created Gojambee, is because I wanted to share all of that sales experience, not with just house cleaning, because it's really based on a one call close, which is what we really need in home services. So whether it's pest control, or lawn care, once you get that customer on the phone, you want to be able to close them, right?
Yeah.
And you want to have really good training. And along with our training, and that's why I say it's a system, it's not just a course. You can't just send an employee through the training and then go, okay, well, you're all trained, right? We all went to school.
Hmm.
We learned what it was. We took a quiz. We went back and relearned it again. We took a final at the end of the year, and then we carried that knowledge over into the next grade and the next grade. And that's what Gojambee is. We have a call performance grader. So not only are they going through the modules, and there's 24 modules, 12 are core foundations for a one call close, but the grader, they upload the grader into, or upload their calls into the grader. It gives them like a 4-page detailed report. It breaks down where the call went really well, where they need to improve. And there's also a manager's dashboard, so the managers can see how their team is doing, what their grades are, if there's really areas that we're lacking. And the one area that everybody struggles with, and it's not unique to house cleaning, is closing the sale and
Yeah.
overcoming objections, right? That's the hard, because it's always the most awkward part of the conversation, right?
So I want to talk about that, and I especially want to talk about the one call close. But before I do, I want to ask, with your coaching clients and everyone that you've known who want to get to the next level, do you find common themes of where they're struggling? Is it a matter of they just they can't find enough clients, or is it really just like all of their systems are just
Mm,
not there yet?
yeah, it's usually not I can't find leads, right? That's usually not the issue. It's usually their org chart. It's usually how they set up their foundation. It could be that we discovered in coaching, and I think that's the one thing, is I'm going to back up a little bit, because there are coaches out there, their business has gotten to say $1 million, but they've only been doing it for 2 years.
Mhm.
Right. And so and not that there's anything wrong with that. Listen, they've grown it to $1 million in a couple years. That's great. But they also don't have the experience. Right. And so what I'm seeing is that I'm able to kind of go in and I'm like, there's something wrong here with the numbers aren't working out. And it might be the foundation of maybe how they put together their pricing. Maybe their cleaning pros are not efficient enough in the field, which means that's affecting their bottom line. A lot of it is not like basic stuff like, hey, I need more leads, or my sales team needs higher closing rate. That's why I have the sales academy, right? That's for that. But when I do coaching at that level, it's usually more, what's your org chart? Do we have the right people in the right seat? Let's kind of go back and just check the foundation and make sure that the foundation's good. But what we find is that there's gaps and holes in the foundation that, quite honestly, the same thing happened with me, is what I learned in the basics. And then I kind of, you start, that game of telephone, you start tweaking things,
Yeah.
and then you're here, and then you get over here and you've completely changed the foundation without even realizing it. And so sometimes we have to kind of go back to that stuff. Sometimes it's quite honestly, and I think that some business owners are embarrassed about it, but like they don't necessarily always know how to read their P&L or understand their balance sheet. And sometimes we're going through that and going, okay, like let's go through your P&L. Let's go through your performance bonuses. A lot of owners, myself included, and trust me, I've done all these things. I didn't know how to read my P&L for a while. I didn't know how to read my balance sheet. These
You're
are
not
all
taught it in
things.
school, so it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
if you're not coming from, that type of background in college, it's like, you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah.
Right. Right, exactly. And it could, a lot of business owners just like, we start to see success, we want to share that with our team. Then we half-ass put together this bonus program and we start bonusing out all these people on our team and we don't really have any rhyme or reason to it. And then we're going, uh-oh, now we need to take this away. And then that causes a lot of issues, right? And then how do you present that to take it away? So it's a lot of leadership skills too, and how to kind of navigate that. And also getting that foundation rebuilt and then building up from there to make sure, okay, now we have the foundation. Do we have everybody in the right seat? And so it's very strategic
Hmm.
in how we go about, and everybody, we all operate our businesses differently, whether it's solos or teams, or some people provide cars, some don't, some pay this, some pay that, some pay job ticket hours, some pays percentage. And it's just really interesting to see. But I can really help unless somebody does specific, like just like Airbnb rentals, like that's not my thing, but regular residential, recurring house cleaning, that should make up about 85% of your revenue. And if you're not there, I can help get you there, right? So that's where you should be. We don't want to try to like reinvent the wheel every month and getting all these one-time cleanings. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough spot to be in when you're just getting one-time cleanings. Have you found any way of like, or how are you trying to focus more on the recurring side where your leads are coming from? Is there a different focus on
mm,
that, or?
well, we always, and this has always been this way at Dust and Mop, and I think it's just because of my sales background. Because I remember when someone said, "Hey, this is how you sell," and I was taught when I first started Dust and Mop was, well, book them for their first cleaning, and then and then go and sell them their recurring. And I thought, well, that's silly.
Two
Why,
sales?
if you have a buyer on the phone
Yeah.
or in person, why would you just book the one time? Why wouldn't you just book everything all at once? So my foundation for Dust and Mop has always been focused on a one call close, and even training the sales reps. I don't care if they filled out the form and they said that they only want a one time cleaning. You assume that they want recurring. You sell it to them. You give them the recurring spiel. You do that, because unless they're moving out of the area,
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
that's the only time. If they say, "Hey, I need a move out cleaning," the next question they know to ask is, "Oh, are you staying in the area? Or are you moving out of the area?" "Oh, I'm
Right.
moving to Colorado." "Okay, great." Then go into your one time, move in, move out, cleaning pitch, fine.
Hmm.
But anything other than that, right? So we're always selling, and that's where the one call close comes in, right? We're always selling. And the other thing I will say is there are still some house cleaning businesses that do walkthroughs, which is completely fine. Sometimes that works in different markets, and certainly you have a higher close rate. It's not scalable if you
Hmm.
get 1,000 leads a month, right?
Yep.
But if you're starting out, sure, yeah, go do walkthroughs. If you're starting out, or you get maybe 50 leads a month, and you can book 20 walkthroughs in a month, that's doable. That's manageable. But the one call close still works because the close is scheduling the walkthrough, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that the close is selling, but the thing that I like is that even if someone still does do walkthroughs, they can train their team to try to sell it over the phone. And then if they can't sell it, then they go and do the walkthrough, right?
Hmm.
And then your close rate should be really high.
Right. So
So,
what is the one, and this is why I love cleaning, because like the sales cycles should be short, should be one call. Where it's
yeah.
not like roofing where we have to go out, we have to give a quote, and there's like lots of variables. So what does the one call close look like? How do you get, somebody that might be just looking for one time, cleaning,
Mhm.
selling them on a recurring? Is there like a very specific flow that you're taking them through?
We have like an 8-step framework, and it's
Mhm.
not, and again, some companies do very specific scripts, some don't. But it doesn't really matter if you're reading off a script or not. You've got to hit these 8 steps, right? It's kind of like call control, call flow. And this, you can have a customer. You answer the phone, hello, Dust and Mop house clean. They're like, I need a quote. I have 9,000 square feet, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, or 9,000
Yeah.
is probably way too high, 2,000 square feet, da, da, da. And they want to run the call, right?
Yeah.
And so the sales rep has to take control back of the call and not let that lead, oh, I'd love to help you. And kind of back them up, right? So
Right.
there's call control, there's in phone sales and any kind of sales, right? It's having that empathy, being able to connect with someone over the phone, which can be hard to do. But I always reference like anybody that has watched a Nike ad, right? We all like that just do it.
Hmm.
And they're like, I mean, they show their sneakers, but they don't really talk about their sneakers. Like they might show their sneakers in a couple shots, but that's it. Sometimes it's like so subtle, but but what we all feel emotional when we watch those Nike commercials, right? So it's that emotion, and you want to really try to connect with someone. So it's connecting with someone, identifying pain points, asking the right questions to identify those pain points, because when you know what their pain is and why they're truly calling us, not, I need my house cleaned. That's obvious. Okay, I need my house cleaned. But why do you need your house cleaned, right? Maybe somebody in their family's sick. Maybe their kids are going back to school. Maybe they just work really hard and they don't want to clean their house on the weekends. Maybe they can clean. So identify the pain point, and then using that pain point, right, to overcome objections and to tie it into closing. And so we have, this 8-step framework, and that's what the grader that I was mentioning earlier, that's the feedback that the grader gives them, and then the grader says, "Hey, you didn't score real well," and gives a percentage on one of these points, and it tells them what modules to go back and rewatch and really try to refine it. And there's role plays inside the modules, so it can kind of help them with that specific module. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
I love that because, so I don't know if you do this, and maybe you did before, but I used to love like calling different cleaning companies to see what their sales process is like. And, if you use like Thumbtack or something, and you'll get a bunch of different
oh
companies.
yeah.
I mean, it's astounding how many people are just so bad at this. Like they just want to spit out a price and get you to say yes as quickly as
Mhm.
possible. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and like now like people are, we call it price shopping, but maybe they're not price shopping. They're really just trying to find the best fit, which might not necessarily be just price, right? And
Exactly.
And so what you're doing is when you're identifying, why they want the service, you're really getting that right fit for that person, and they're feeling like
Mhm.
you're going to solve their problem, right? Because there's a whole bunch of other cleaning companies. I'm sure most of them are cheaper than you that can solve the cleaning part of it, but they can't really get to the root cause of why they're calling you today, right?
Mhm.
And that's going to stop them from wanting to call other companies, right?
Right, exactly. And to your point, another thing with leads calling in is, there's it's like I was saying, so much has changed in house cleaning over 17 years. I mean, when I started, there was a lot more, I would say, in not as many professional. You had your franchises, probably 30 years ago, you had your cleaning ladies and your franchises, right?
Mhm.
And then you started to see this middle tier of independent, non franchise, professional house cleaners kind of come up, whether it was the house cleaner started in the field or kind of came up through the ranks and then built it into something bigger. But to your point is that I think that there's certainly after COVID, there was this shift amongst consumers in their thought process around house cleaning because it went from this is kind of like a luxury disposable income item to no, I need my house cleaned because I need my my mental
Right.
health is important, and not so much about about COVID and, cleaning the house because of COVID, but more about just I think we all kind of stopped and took a breath and said, "What am I doing with my life? Like, is it all about working? Is it all about this?" And we got used to having that freedom, and we still see that today is where homeowners are feeling like this is a necessity for them.
Mhm.
But with that said, some of the mind shift has not changed with the consumers of house cleaning, right? And them understanding that hiring a professional house cleaning service is important to them, to their family, for their home, and why that's important. And there's nothing wrong with hiring an independent cleaner, but there's more due diligence that the homeowner has to do if they're going to hire an independent cleaner. They have to make sure that, they have insurance. What happens if they slip and fall in their home so it's really educating the consumer too without giving scare tactics, but
Okay.
explaining to them in the sales process, especially if they say they want to call around or get other pricing. There's things that we can say to say, well, let me explain to you what you are getting with Dust and Mop house cleaning. It's not just a clean house, but we background check all of our employees. We do local and county criminal background checks and national background checks. And so you can kind of go down that punch list of everything that you do. So so in that sales process, we're also trying to educate the consumer about house cleaning and why it's not worth it for them to say, well, I don't, this other cleaning lady's $30 cheaper cleaning or $50. Is that really worth it?
Yeah.
you know? And so we try to educate them too, in that sales call about why they should hire us, right? Because we aren't the cheapest, that's for
Mhm.
sure.
And so when it comes to the recurring part, what's the trigger that you're getting them to say, "Okay, this is actually something I wanna do regularly," instead
Mhm.
of just before holidays or something?
I don't know if it's any secret. We're just in the call. We're just saying, we have, are you interested in recurring or one time? And even if they say one time, you'd say, you know what? Well, we offer a discounted price if you have recurring services. I'm not talking about discount off the first one. I'm just saying we're saying it's
Mhm.
lower. Because someone that hasn't ever had house cleaning services, we don't want them to think like every cleaning would be $700, right?
Right. Right.
So, it's just how you present it to the customer in the beginning of setting, it's like you kind of set up the call, right? If they say, no, I'm only interested in one time. Well, have you considered recurring services? Because we have weekly, we have biweekly, which is our most popular. We have monthly, which is every 4 weeks. And we've had similar customers in the same situation as you, and they love coming home to a fresh, clean home. Is that something you'd be interested in hearing about? And then they're like, you know what? That does sound really nice. It's like you need to give them permission
Mhm.
to say that they deserve it, right?
Wow, that's a great point.
So,
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, it's really just kind of changing because I think a lot of, especially when people are starting out, we have a lot of new companies on our platform.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of them just haven't really like learned that part of it. Like we're providing a great service to people,
hmm
almost a necessary service, and finding the value of that is something super important for people to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And listen, it's hard, like you said, that you have a lot of clients that are maybe just starting off, and we can't all be good at everything, right?
Mhm.
And so, you might be really good at, maybe you start in the field and you're cleaning, and maybe you're really good at operations, but you don't know where to start with sales, or vice versa. Maybe you're really good at sales, but you aren't real good at operations. And as an owner, you have to kind of figure out where your genius is and what you're really good at, and then fill in the holes where you have to, and the gaps. And I just wanted to clarify, when I say professional house cleaning services, it's okay if you're independent, and it's okay if you have contractors, and it's okay if your business is set up different than Dust and Mops. I'm not saying that everybody has to be set up exactly the same, because the reality is all these house cleaning companies are, some of us are set up similar, some are set up different, and that's okay. But understand what the value is. So if you have contractors, then just be transparent with them, but make sure that they understand, well, all of our contractors have insurance, and don't, just be really upfront with the customer. Even if you're an independent house cleaner, that's okay.
Mhm.
And you're still cleaning in the field, and you're the owner. Maybe you have some helpers, somebody on your team. Maybe they're employees, maybe they're not. But just know what your coverage is and how you're protecting the customer, and be very clear with them about that. Because I
Right.
can tell you, I've had clients tell me, oh, yeah, I had this coach and they told me I didn't need to do background checks. And I'm like, well, would
That's
you
crazy.
allow someone in your home
Yeah.
around your children, and like in your pets, and probably your most valuable asset, your
Yeah.
home? Would you allow that in your home? No, no way. I would never allow that. So I do everything the right way, and I want to make sure that my customers are protected. Does it
Yeah.
cost some more money? Yes, it does.
It's
It
also
does.
it's cheap insurance though. I mean, really. And I mean,
Exactly.
if something bad did happen, I mean, one of the first things that a lawyer is going to ask you if you're getting sued is, did you do your due diligence? Did you do a background check? And
Yeah.
like, if you were to say, no, I just sent this random person, I mean, that's crazy. So,
Yep. The
yeah, that opens you up
exposure.
to so much liability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've heard all kinds of stories in 17 years. And unfortunately, some of them are really, really bad,
Yeah.
and it's just really important that everybody, leads. There's going to be people out there that just, they don't know what they don't know. Maybe they're starting off and they don't know what they should have to both protect themselves and their customer,
Yeah.
and their employees for that matter, or contractors or whatever.
If you're hiring independent contractors, I would say the majority do not have their own insurance. So they're out there, they're servicing their clients' homes and they don't have any insurance at all. That's
Right.
just the state of how a lot of people are. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And they're, a lot of times they're not doing background checks, and they don't have their own insurance. They're not trained properly because, again, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, but we all know that there's a checklist for a contractor 1099, and they need to meet all of those
Yeah.
criteria, which is completely doable, but you also lose control, right? You
Yep.
lose control. I mean, how do you know they're trained properly? Making sure they're bringing in the right supplies into the home. And and I'm not an expert on contractors because I've never used them. in Dust and Mop ever. So I'm not an expert in that, but I have a peer of mine that is very successful with contractors, but she does everything the right way. And as a matter of fact, I've referred people to her because I'm like, it's not
Yeah.
my area.
Yeah. Next week, I should have my friend on this podcast, and I think he's doing about 2.5, 3 million a year, and he is 100% contractors.
Right. You
Uh,
should. Yeah. I'm sure he's got a lot of really good information about
yeah.
how to do it properly and set it up and protect yourself as a business
Yeah.
owner. And yeah.
Well, he got audited too from California, and he passed the audit.
Oh, wow.
I think it was just like a day because he was really strict on making sure that all those regulations he's following. So I'm curious at your level, with where you're at when it comes to the channels for marketing and hiring. Are there like a few that you focus on, or do you have like 15 marketing channels? How does that look like?
Yeah, no, we're primarily for marketing. So I handle all of our marketing still. So I
Mhm.
do I have a team in Raleigh that does our video shoots and all of our marketing and everything. But yeah, so we're primarily Google Ads, Facebook, getting as many Google reviews as we can, obviously SEO, and even now with AI, chat, there's so much out there, and making sure that you're showing up in, which
Yep.
is something we're kind of diving more into as AI has clearly exploded even the last 6 months or so. But yeah, so marketing, those are my marketing channels for new lead gen. And again, it's just primarily Facebook, Google Local, and then obviously starting on the AI train.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna practice, and try to maybe put some money into some AI, like Chat's starting to do their beta ads and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of fleshes out. But I haven't even dug into that yet with my team. Of course, we do Instagram, right? I'm not on TikTok. I don't know why yet, but I guess I haven't put any time into TikTok. Not saying that it's not there. It probably is. But I haven't done it for house cleaning yet. I feel like I kind of like at my age, I kind of like missed that TikTok boat. So I don't know.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a TikTok account. I
No, I
you
have one, but I don't even know if I know how to no, I have logged into it like maybe once or something
Yeah.
because I wanted to like watch some very specific video on something. But for our hiring, we are primarily Indeed. I mean, they're the leader right now for getting, labored employees. And I would love to see that change. But, we are Indeed, we use a combination of some tech stacks to, I guess, I don't know, want to say game the system a little bit, but are you familiar with the ATS with Indeed, the applicant tracking system inside of Indeed?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've used it though. Yeah.
Okay. So not to get like too techy. I love some good tech stacks, but not to get too techy, but Indeed is where we go. And, it's always been a struggle with small business owners. Like, how do we get to show up more on Indeed? How do we get better applicants?
Mhm.
And it's like, it's the ongoing theme. Everybody's always asking that, right? And so I don't want to say that we've perfected it, but we've used some third party softwares, which has gotten us, to a certain point. And about 6 months ago, we really started saying we're going to pull this in house because we use Go High Level. I'm sure you're familiar with Go High
Mhm.
Level. So we use Go High Level. So instead of using somebody else's software for all of our tracking and everything, because what was happening was Indeed changed and I'm no Indeed expert, but they changed their algorithm kind of where they were really wanting you to use an ATS that's approved by them, an applicant tracking system. And then the specific way that we do our hiring and onboarding and stuff, it wasn't really working. So what we do is we pay for this applicant tracking system, but then we just trigger it and it go high level. So we
Uh-huh.
can manage everything and go high level because we didn't want another software.
Right.
But that when you use the applicant tracking system, you get more applicants than
Oh,
you do without. We found that out through a lot of trial and error because we were with this one software for a long time that was great, and then we went to another one and tried it, but they couldn't do it the way that we needed to. So then we went back to that one. But then what we realized is when we went to that one, they were an ATS, and our interviews went through the roof. We do like in our interview process, we're basically having somebody join for an information session virtually first before they come in for an in-person interview because we want them to know everything about the position beforehand. Because interviews, that was a really tough thing. You asked me that hiring was challenging when you're scaling. It's because if you don't have your hiring down really well and really fluid, it can suck so many resources. And that was one mistake that we made is we kept all these in-person interviews for whoever wanted to come in for an interview. It's like, and then, you can only interview so much before you get sick of interviewing, right?
yeah.
So we came up with a really good system, and we still are always kind of, we do like we have a rule, we do like one tweak at a time so we can try to figure out what's working and what's not. If you make too many changes at once, it's too hard to figure out what change made the difference, right? So we've been tweaking it slowly here and there since we went out to our own platform of how we do the virtual interviews. And it might be just a small tweak, but just something of saying, hey, watch this video, or doing a live,
Mhm.
a live call before being able to come in for an interview.
So, with your training program for new employees, are you able to take them from zero? Like,
You mean no cleaning experience?
right, right.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, most house cleaning business owners will agree that we'd prefer them not to have any
'Cause the
bad
bad
habits,
habits. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, we do everybody, and that's another thing, it's like you said about coaching, like, going back, that's one thing that's always gets kind of murky is the training process and
Right.
what's the training process for the trainers too. That's
Mhm.
something else that's we could dive deep on, but we have always had a 5-day training process, but we do an orientation in the office first. And then when I say 5 days, that's really 10 houses. So we actually just renamed it to 10 house training because if somebody has a half day or house gets canceled, we don't want to shorten their training. So, but we have a very systematic way. And this is funny that I'm talking about this because this was with another client of mine recently, was when we looked back at her efficiency and we started talking about training, we realized that she may not even have the right training in place for efficiency for the cleaning pros. So everybody knows, top to bottom, back to front, left to right, typically when cleaning, but
Mhm.
you can't just say, here, go clean. Like, okay, start here and go top to bottom, back to front, left to right
Right,
around the room. Like we have a very specific method. The first day is observing. They're not allowed to do anything the first day other than dust, but they have to do it in a very systematic way. They have to explain to the trainer why they're starting at a certain point in the room, what they're dusting, why they're dusting it. And the trainer has to be there to watch them because if you miss the foundation of how to move around a room and have a system for it, everything else after that means nothing.
right.
And so, yeah, it's really, really important to have a really, really good training program for cleaning pros. And I think, and again, that's another gap in our industry because yes, there's training out there, but everybody has their own way of doing things, their own products that they use, their own supplies that, some people use feather dusters, some don't, some use a mop that looks like this, other use a mop that looks like that. And but hopefully everybody's using microfiber. But I know some people that don't use microfiber. They hate it
Uh,
because it's not getting washed properly, but that's a whole other issue.
yeah. So I'm super curious because this is different from how I've hired people. I've always looked for experience because I
Mm,
don't have a training program. So what are you looking for if it's not experience, right? You're getting all these applicants. What are the things that you're looking for that makes you
mm,
say, okay, this is going to be potentially a good fit for us?
right. Well, I hope that my team is looking for, and work history is really, really important, right? That is like the number one is if someone has a strong work history, we tend to, as humans, right? We want to hire people that we like. This is why I was not really good at hiring people when I started Dust and Mop because I would hire people like, I'd be like, well, they weren't very excited about the job. Like, they didn't seem like they really wanted it. Like, they're not as enthusiastic as me. They don't use their hands a lot. Like, how is
Hmm.
the customer going to like this person? Right. But what I found over the years is cleaning pros that are really good at cleaning usually are a bit more reserved, a bit more introverted,
Mm,
like to be alone, right? I'm not saying that we don't have cleaning pros that are talkative and that but a
sure.
majority of them that do really well don't want to sit there and talk to somebody all day, right? Me, I'd go crazy. I'm a restaurant girl, right? Like I wanted to wait on people. I need a fast paced
Yeah.
environment. I want people around me. Like I would never be a good cleaning pro. It's really making sure the interviewer is trained and understand, looking at their work history. Yeah, we want to get our eyes on them. We want to meet with them. Sure, we want them to be personable, right? I'm not saying that we want them to be dry, but especially if I have our branch leads do the interviews. And if I have a branch lead, which I have one that's very talkative and very outgoing, like that's not always the best fit. So it's really identifying those things, seeing, where do they want to be in 5 years? I know that sounds like a corny question, but we don't, hey, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to college and taking night classes and I want to do this so I can go into nursing or whatever, I have a good employee for 2 to 3 years. That's great.
Mhm.
I love employees who move on from Dust and Mop and use us as a platform to go do something else. I want everybody to grow and we want to support them. We have, an avatar that we built out with our cleaning pros that we present to any cleaning pro that's coming on board. And this is specifically for the cleaning pro position, not an office position. But we tell them this is a list, this is an avatar, and we put this together with our team of cleaning pros to say, this is what we want in a team member. So things like being self aware, being a team player, being punctual, hardworking. And if any of this doesn't kind of embody you, then you're probably not going to be a good fit for our team.
Mhm.
Right. And making sure that they line up with our core values. And of course, we do all of the standard background checks and things like that. The reality is that sometimes you can go through all of that and then they get into training and it's their second day and call out. And then it's their fourth day and they call out again, and I always say we can make someone a great cleaner. We cannot make them a great employee. Unfortunately, sometimes you just don't know that. Some people are just really good at interviews and it's hard to
Mhm.
flesh that out, but their work history usually tells a story about them.
Right.
Because if they've had attendance issues, I bet if you go back and you really look at their resume, that maybe they had quite a few gaps in their work history, right? So, but sometimes it's hard. And the reality is too, sometimes we have to hire. We have customers' homes to clean and, it's I'm not saying that's ideal, but I speak in realities. And I don't think that there's any business owner out there that would say, I've never made a bad hire. I've never
Yeah,
right?
of
We've all made bad hires, and sometimes we have to
course.
do it out of necessity.
Yeah,
You might have had 4 cleaning pros quit in one day, and then you had 3 in training and only 1 lasted. Now what are you gonna do,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the business sometimes is, you know, I mean, I always say, like, if you could just hire amazing, solid people, it's the easiest business to run. But
Yeah,
that's,
right.
like, I mean, if they
Yeah.
always showed up on time, did a great job, got no complaints, I mean, wow, what an easy business.
Right,
But
right, because then it would do away with all of our people issues. Our
yeah,
customers wouldn't be complaining and our employees wouldn't be complaining, and in a perfect world,
yeah,
you know, that works out really well. But I mean, we are 1,000% in the cleaning business or in the people business, right? We just happen
right.
to clean houses, right? And because we probably spend 80% of our time on customers and employees.